product based on the performance profile that we've demonstrated in all of our different clinical trials and certainly based on our market research. And we've long talked about the ability to capture a premium relative to existing neuromodulator products, that you know, the injectors can command a premium and that patients will pay more for it. And obviously that overall dynamic could ebb and flow based on, you know, what ultimately happens in the market. But, you know, we like sort of how we are going to enter the market on the price today. And of course, we'll continue to monitor that, which is, I think, true for all companies, right? You know, you have some competitors in the market that have more brand stickiness and brand equity, right? That charge more than other products that compete more on price. And so there will always be a little bit of that dynamic in the market.
Okay. All right. So not much more we can talk about with DAXI until you get this approved. So that's the key thing. But moving on to fillers and the platform. So you've had great traction here. You're on, I guess, almost a 75 million run rate. And in a down quarter, third quarter is always low. You've got 2,500 accounts. So what is your near-term goal here now without DAXI? Are you going to try to go deeper with these accounts to really establish that base, or are you going to try to go broader and find more accounts to you know, make a DAXI launch maybe a little bit more impactful? And what do you think you can do with one of these, just one product in your aesthetics line, putting aside the fintech platform or the PayFac platform for one moment? Like how should we think about this right now, given the limitations?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think as you point out, first and foremost, we're incredibly pleased with sort of how our commercial team is performing, and it continues to validate the strategy. So as you point out, we're annualizing at almost $75 million. We hired our entire field force remotely in the pandemic. We launched in the pandemic, and we drove another, you know, successful quarter in Q3, which is a seasonally down quarter. So that to us says that, you know, the products are performing as expected, as sort of the latest innovative technology in hyaluronic acid fillers, and our prestige strategy is resonating. You know, the way that we've built the strategy, it's not necessarily linked to our neuromodulator product. Each one of these brands that we're pushing, you know, we are pushing this brand on their own. And if you think about it, our strategy is not based on discounting or couponing. It's based on, you know, innovation and a designer filler and sort of the latest innovation. So from an overall strategy, it's steady as she goes. We've talked previously about being focused on this prestige category in the market. And so there's, call it, close to 40,000 accounts in the US. We're targeting the top third. So that puts us into sort of that, you know, 12, 13,000 range. As of the end of Q3, we're in 2,500 accounts between both our fintech platform and the fillers. And we've been adding roughly 500 accounts per quarter. So we still have a ways to run in this sort of prestige category that we're currently focused on. So I don't see any change there. Hey, there's no doubt that certainly, you know, with the addition of our neuromodulator, we can compete more effectively in some accounts that have, you know, kind of bundling pricing, where they're a little bit more reluctant to lean in with us on the RHA filler line because of the potential impact that has on their bundle discounts. But, you know, we still got a lot of accounts to go in the prestige strategy. So as we move into 2022, we've got what's a very robust and healthy aesthetics market coming out of the pandemic. We've got still plenty of opportunity to tap in and target our prestige customers. Our strategy's working and doesn't solely depend on our neuromodulator. So we're going to continue to, you know, drive more into that prestige target account. And then certainly once our neuromodulator is approved, we'll, you know, continue to look at ways to leverage the relationship base that we're establishing, you know, with our filler line.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So maybe we can drill down on the reception to the RHA filler. Obviously, the sales are doing well, so the reception is positive. But you know, with each new toxin and innovation in the space, physicians need to gain a better understanding of how they work, where it should be placed in their practice. And so, you know, I guess one is the uptake because they're finding that way to place it in the practice and how to use it, or is it more a factor of market expansion right now? So maybe you can get a little bit of, you know, give us a little granularity there on where the growth is coming from.
Sure. Well, hey, listen, there's no doubt that, all of us are benefiting from the growth in the market. So, some
Hmm.
of it is absolutely part of our growth is being driven by market, but the fact that we are going into brand new accounts and getting adoption means that we're also displacing competitors along the way too. And so, our approach hasn't been to come in and say, hey, RHA3 is great for you this, or if you're using this product, it's a great switch for this product. The beauty of it is we've got a line of fillers that covers all of their needs. And what we're really focused on is this is the latest innovation in hyaluronic acid technology. It's less engineered, which means that it's dynamic. It will move sort of with facial expressions. It will be more natural and it's adaptable. And so letting the accounts kind of experiment with it, you'll find some that use RHA3 in one area and not another, and a different account will use it somewhere else. And as is common with these practices, they all sort of find what works for the look that they're going for and for what their patients want. But we were really pleased that people are embracing the technology because, again, of this sort of dynamic, natural, adaptable nature of the product. And then with this range, they can then customize and tailor to see kind of where they think it fits best.
Okay, is there something in particular that's standing out as far as how it's being used, and are you pursuing additional training around those most optimal ways? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. So, right now we've talked previously that the mix of the products is roughly a third, a third, a third. So that was something we weren't sure, where were we going to see? I mean, RHA4, because it's more viscous, tends to get used deeper and sometimes is more volume. So we weren't sure if that was going to be a greater share taker, but right now we're running pretty even. As I said, the 2, 3, and 4 kind of cover the waterfront of what practices are looking for. And so there's nothing notable that I can point out. Training and education continues to be really important. So we made a big investment in Nashville with the build out of our training and education center. So we're going to continue to put dollars behind, making sure that our practices are properly trained and know how to use the product the right way. The only other thing that I would mention is, 2, 3, and 4 do a great job of covering the waterfront, but we have talked about RHA1, being approved before the end of the year, which we believe is still on track. That one to me is probably going to be the most differentiated product compared to competition. It's a very sort of light, superficial filler that we do think will be niche in terms of market opportunity and volume, but will help address a need that we don't think is well addressed by others.
Okay, that's for the more of the lip area.
Yes, the perioral lines.
Okay, got it. So, are there any metrics you can give around the ordering patterns, repeat orders, anything around that at this point? I mean, you've been around. This has been going on for about a year now, so you must have some kind of metrics around that.
Yeah, we do. We've just not been comfortable providing that yet, partly because we were anticipating the approval of our neuromodulator, which we thought was going to potentially set up a different cycle in terms of how we should think about, account reorder rates and differentiation. So you are right that now that we're a year into it, we certainly do have more visibility to reorder rates and other different metrics, but we were hoping to kind of wait to provide some of that until we had the neuromodulator product, because we do think it's going to change the dynamics a little bit. Toby and I are spending a lot of time kicking around, are we in a position where we can start to give a little bit more color to the, investment community around it? We just want to make sure that when we're putting it out there, we have confidence in it. And so we'll be thinking about that as part of our 2022 guidance and see whether or not we feel we can give the market something that we've got confidence in, either with or without the neuromodulator. And I would just stay tuned. Toby, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
No, I think Mark touched on it pretty well. The other thing to note is, consistently since the launch, every quarter we've been tacking on 500 accounts about a quarter, which has provided a lot of growth. And then you can kind of infer. It's tricky with the seasonality, but infer patterns from that as well.
Okay. So just on going back to the other question of going deeper or broader, I know you're getting growth from the 500 accounts, but are you getting growth on a same store sales basis as well? Or
like we've said, it's a combination of both. as you go through this. And then you have to overlay that on the seasonality trends that you have, that you've alluded to before, and third quarter being the lightest quarter as you typically do. So.
Okay. And with, I didn't notice the 2022 guidance. Is that going to be just OpEx guidance, or is it going to also be top line guidance?
Yeah, I think for 2022 on the OpEx side, we'd like clarity on our path forward with our regulators for daxibotulinum. So I think it would be best prudent to provide some OpEx guidance at that juncture. And then with regards to top end, I think we'd like to kind of think it through with regards to that and the potential launch and timing of Daxi. So right now we're weighing a lot of options as we go through.
I guess there's various scenarios in which top line guidance can be provided.
Sure. So
hopefully we can get a little bit of clarity there. All right, so I want to go into Opal for a minute. This is a different platform than HintMD. It's I guess incorporating the PayFac. So how should we think about going back to the accounts that you have already gotten on board with HintMD?